Okay, so this is the Barbara Fritchie House, Spare Your Country's Flag, Antietam Campaign 1862. It's part of the Maryland Civil War Trails, civilwartrails.org. And I'm going to read just the Ballad of Barbara Fritchie. Up from the meadows rich with corn, clear in the cool September morn, the clustered spires of Frederick stand, green-walled by the hills of Maryland. Round about them orchards sweep, apple and peach tree fruited deep. Fair is a garden of the Lord to the eyes of the famished rebel horde. On that pleasant morn of the early fall, when Lee marched over the mountain wall, over the mountains winding down, horse and foot, into Frederick town. 40 flags with their silver stars, 40 flags with their crimson bars, flapped in the morning wind. The sun, or noon, looked down and saw not one. Up rose old Barbara Fritchie then, bowed with her 80 and 10, bravest of all in Frederick town. She took up the flag and men hauled down. In her attic window the staff she set, to show that one heart was loyal yet. Up the street came the rebel tread, Stonewall Jackson riding ahead. Under his slouched hat left and right he glanced, the old flag met his sight. Halt! The dust-brown ranks stood fast. Fire! Out blazed the rifle blast. It shivered the window, pane and sash. It rent the banner with seam and gash. Quick as it fell from the broken staff, Dame Barbara snatched the silken scarf. She leaned far out on the windowsill and shook it forth with a royal will. Shoot if you must this old gray head, but spare your country's flag, she said. A shade of sadness, a blush of shame, over the face of the leader came. The nobler nature within him stirred to life at that woman's deed and word. Who touches a hair on yon gray head dies like a dog. March on, he said. All day long through Frederick Street sounded the tread of marching feet. All day long that true flag tossed over the heads of the rebel host. Ever its torn folds rose and fell on the loyal winds that loved it well. And through the hill gaps sunset light shone over it. A warm good night. Barbara Fritchie's work is over, and the rebel rides on his raids no more. Honor to her, and let a tear fall for her sake on Stonewall's bier. Over Barbara Fritchie's grave, flag of freedom and union wave. Peace and order and beauty draw round thy symbol of light and law, and ever the stars above look down on thy stars below in Frederick town. So then there's another one from the 1862 Antietam campaign, but that's part of that. And so it's the Barbara Fritchie House, and then there's a metal sign for the Maryland Civil War Trails. And then there's a newer, now we're on the National Road, so there's another one of those. Now, this isn't lit up at the moment, but that's a more recent mural, which has the palm. And then over here, and these are the two. I believe it's supposed to be now a BMB, so it's the Maryland Civil War Trails, Antietam Campaign 1862, and then Antietam Campaign 1862, Lee invades Maryland. So that's a bigger one. Oh, so this is the bigger one about the campaign, and that was just about the Barbara Fritchie. Civil War Trails, Barbara Fritchie Guest House. And then just to sneak into completely different, but still often in Frederick, is the National Road. So this is the National Road Heritage Foundation, nationalrdfoundation.org, funded in part by America's Byways, Maryland Heritage Area, Maryland Heritage Areas Authority, Maryland Historic National Road. The Historic National Road, America's first federally funded highway. So the main thing's Jacob Engelbrecht, a Frederick diarist on the National Road. They love him at the Historical Society, so I bet this is, well, he used to be mayor, so you can say, so in 1826, Jacob Engelbrecht, so this is, you can see where we're along the National Road. I'm going to read along the, moved to the house across the street near Cattle Creek. He began reporting on the National Road cavalcade that was going by his front door. His priceless diary reporting on the National Road cavalcade. His travelers he observed include the famous Winfred Scott, Andrew Jackson, William Henry Harrison, Senator Henry Clay, the Ordinary, and Civil War armies in 1862. So this is part of that. So Local legends distinguish Barbara Fritchie for defiantly waving the American flag at Confederate troops in 1862. Jacob Engelbrecht, who never saw the event, was an early voice that disputed the story. An 1869 diary entry claimed, quote, "Should anything like that have occurred, I am certain someone in our family would have noticed it." In spite of skeptics, the Barbara Fritchie legend lives on. National Road at Fairview, in background image from Enoch Pratt Library, Cater. And so we're here, and we got Boonesboro, Middletown, Braddock Heights, then Frederick, Newmarket, Mount Airy, then Poplar Springs, down to Ellicott City and Baltimore. And so then all the way up to Cumberland, and then Frostburg. So yeah, that's the Barbara Fritchie house.